growing.
Okay, what we learned in Shaar Beis Parak Vav was that the mitzvahs and maisim that we do in this world create a keli which can hold the neshama and the nefesh, which is something spiritual. Without the keli, just like the body, you can be psychologically very strong and very stable, but if you don't have a body to hold it, so it's not going to do much good. You'll be, a psychologically stable dead person. So you have to. The same thing is you need the guf to hold the nefesh and the neshama, and you need the mitzvos, the maisim, in this world to hold the Shekhinah. Meaning, so we explained in Parak Vav that the way it works is that it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu's intention and his kavanah when he created the world to make a dira b'tachtonim. So the whole idea was that there should be an earthly ruchnius. That's the idea. The whole purpose of creating the world. Otherwise, everything would just stay in Shemayim. But here we are, we're hungry and we need to do things, and we have cars and kitchens and all kinds of stuff like cameras. Right? So this is all Gashmis. What's the purpose of all of the Gashmis? So the answer is because without Gashmis, there could be, it's not going to affect HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to be Shar b'tachtonim, so you need to have a dira b'tachtonim. You need to have this tachtonim. And the dira b'tachtonim means that the Kedusha has to permeate even the lowest part of the world. So hence there are mitzvahs that have to do with every part. There's a bracha of Asher Yatzer. There are mitzvahs that have to do with every single part of the world. So we explained it further according to Rabbi Yaacov Haber, I said was my namesake, possibly my grandfather, great-grandfather, Talmud Agra, that the way to look at it is like shemen. So you have a psila and you have shemen. Then you have the eish. So in order to have the eish, it has to have the psila. It has to have a wick. But the wick is not good enough. The wick also requires that it has oil in it. What's the purpose of the oil? Let's just analyze it as amateurs for a moment. That the purpose of the oil is that, therefore, the fire is burning the fuel instead of burning the wick. In other words, it'll burn the wick for a couple of seconds. You'll have some kind of a fire, but you need the oil, which is a constant replenishing of fuel that's going now, and it turns the wick into a conduit. So the same thing, says Rabbi Yaacov Haber, is that he heard from the Gra that HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts his ruchnius into this world. It would just simply overwhelm the world. It would burn up the world as it did Nadav and Avihu. The Eish that came on Har Sinai, or as Chaim said, the Eish of the Sneh, Asher Einenu Ukal. This was an Eish but that's Eish min Hashamayim. It's completely Yisayusa de La'ela. But that was the situation of Moshe Rabbeinu at the Sneh, just strictly coming up from Shemayim. There was nothing from him in that. This was not yet a dira b'tachtonim. This was just Hashem communicating with the world. Har Sinai, Hashem communicating with the world. Same thing happened, same spot, same mountain, everything. It's the same. Hashem communicating with the world. But that's not the design. The design is that we should be dira b'tachtonim means that the fuel should come from us. So the model that HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up is that Hashem provides the fire, and we have to hold the fire in this world, and we create. So Hashem provides the match, and we provide the oil. That's the model, and that's why we have mitzvahs. That's why it's not good enough to just be spiritual and think spiritual things and be heavenly. That's not a permeation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming into this world. The idea is everything in the world has to be holy. Everything has to be holy. Our food has to be holy. Marriages have to be holy. It's not like this is holy and this is my marriage. The whole idea of marriage is that it's a kli for the ruchnius that Hashem is giving in this world. It's a great kli. And yet, the way the marriage is consummated and continues is by doing things which in other circumstances would be considered the worst Aveiros. So the answer is that this is the what we're doing basically is bringing Hashem into this world. So the nutrition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in other words, bringing the Michael and the Mishnah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the Torah and mitzvahs and ma'asim time. That's what we learned in Parak Vav. Yeah? Clear?
What's the wick?
What?
What is the wick?
We're the wick. We are. But if we don't do anything, we're just taking the fire from Hashem, then we just burn out quickly. And that's what happened to Nadav and Avihu, just burnt up. Went on Har Sinai, grabbed some of the fire from Hashem, Atzilei B'nai Yisrael, and just burnt up. There's nothing to sustain it. Look, we all know. I'll give you how can you give a simpler mashal than food? But which to me is a simpler mashal, just in human interactions. That if you or I say something to someone which is totally inspiring, just completely inspires them to want to do good, it will last like a wick. It will last a couple of seconds. Whereas if it's concretized somehow, if it's brought down to earth, if this is what the thing to do is, if you are totally inspired, you have to right away, as Rabbi Yaacov says, be makabel to do something. Therefore, what? Give some tzedakah, daven, do something. I don't know. You do something to take the inspiration and make it real, because otherwise it's just something isarusa delayla. It's just something which is coming from the Shemayim. It's coming into us, the wick. And it'll just burn away in a minute or two. It won't last. Simplest pshat, and here they're seeing the Aish of Har Sinai, and a few days later making an Egel Hazah. Yesterday we said, like, there's more obit to it, but the bottom line is that if you want to convince somebody of something, if you want to inspire somebody to something, you have to have some kind of concrete measure. Right. Otherwise, we're all, as I always say, sometimes like I get a tremendous urge to do exercise, so I take a nap and it goes away. It's a lobaya. The idea is to take it, to bring it to a place of tachlis, So that's the mitzvahs are the tachlis of all the beautiful spirituality we get. If we can't bring it into our lives, in what we eat, what we say, how we live with other people, if we can't bring it into our lives, so that it's just going to be a wick that's just going to burn out. Hashem gives us the inspiration, but if we don't quickly take it, so it's just a very practical thing. When everyone feels inspired, whether it's a beautiful sunrise or a beautiful drasha or whatever it might be, you have to do something immediately. Have to take on something practical, lamaisa, to do something.
That's to bring that so-called energy to the individual, but nevertheless, that positive energy is in the world.
It'll go away. It'll just burn up the person.
So how does avak? I don't know what is such a thing.
No, what is that? I don't know.
I'm saying we're talking about avak loshen hara. So there's like a metzias of something that's not inside the person, but literally like dust that covers the world.
Yeah.
So
of toy.
Isn't there a toy that we didn't harness as individuals, but nevertheless that toy is in the world?
I have no idea. It could be, but it doesn't do anything unless it's harnessed.
Avak tov, not tov.
It's avak. Like you say, it's avak. It's going to disappear. Whether it'll take a minute or 10,000 years, this I don't know. But the point is, it's not becoming part of the earth. This is how we understand always Malchus. Malchus is always where there's a complete permeation of Tov into the world, but it has to come to first you have to have Midas HaYesod, Yosef HaYim B'Mitzrayim, and then it can bring it mamish into this world. It's interesting, by the way, just the ultimate, I'm not saying something political, I'm just saying logical. The ultimate Tov is not to be Tov in the Beis Medrash. The ultimate Tov is to be Tov in business, and to be Yashar. Because that would be a total permeation, as to the ultimate tov is, like a person could be in a Beis Medrash and think about all kinds of lofty, beautiful things, and then could have in your first conversation you can hurt somebody, or say something bad about somebody, or steal from somebody. It is possible. It is possible to do something. So it has to be concretized. It has to be, and that's what we're looking at there, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maybe Chaim, the Snesh Einenu Ukal is that in other words, maybe that represents the fact, just saying as far, that the Bnei Yisrael had, for 200 years in Mitzrayim, were not concretizing the Shechina, like you're saying, Darren, like it was there, but we weren't doing anything with it in Mitzrayim. But Kadosh Baruch Hu kept it burning. Okay, he's waiting for the moment that we're going to take this Ruchnius and we're going to then come back to our Sinai, same situation. Also a Snesh Einenu Ukal. It's that inspiration is there, just waiting for us to take it and to light something on fire down here. But you see, the whole Shaka B'Tari, which I keep on talking about at Shabbos, and going up the mountain, down the mountain, it's all trying to get the Ruchnius without having to bring it into the real world. Totally not Jewish. Totally not Jewish. The Jewish thing is to bring it in. So the Meichel and the Mishnah of a Kadosh Baruch Hu is Torah and mitzvahs. Without the, just like in the body, if the food isn't absorbed into our body, if food is not absorbed into our digestive system, and becomes, so it doesn't make a difference how much we have in the refrigerator. So the same thing is here, that it doesn't make any difference how much Ruchnius HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving it if we're not taking it in, we're not absorbing it. You understand this? I understand it. It's very real, it's very practical.
We're learning the Baruch Nafshi Es Hashem. How does we relate all this to that, or?
That's what he's commenting on actually involved. The Baruch Nafshi Es Hashem, that just like the Nefesh can only be misbarech with a goof. So the same thing, it's exactly what the Medrash says. The same thing is that Kadosh Baruch Hu can't be present in this world without a goof. It's interesting, by the way, like you talk about a shul. You're not allowed to daven. You're not allowed to daven outside. Shul has to have walls. It says in Shulchan Aruch. Right? I mean, if you're stuck someplace at some campsite, you do it. But the pshat is there has to be walls, there has to be kalim, there has to be something for the Shekhinah to absorb into. And if the Shekhinah doesn't absorb into that thing, so it's like having, cell phone waves all over the place without a cell phone. What toelis is it? I mean, who knows what it's doing to us? But it's not making a phone call. You have to be able to access it. So now let's move to Perek Zayin, where it gets a little more complicated. V'chein behepech. The same thing is true the other way around. Hamaisim asher loy tovim chas v'shalom. What happens when we do maisim asher loy tovim? If maisim tovim, mitzvahs and maisim tovim are the gashmias of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, taking the ruach of Hashem and putting it into the gashmias, and that's what's keeping the Shekhinah here in this world, like a fire stays in a candle. What does it mean when we do something negative? What does it mean when we speak lashon hara, when we eat treif, when we do things which are wrong, when we steal from people? What does that do? So let's just imagine it for a minute. In other words, here's this ruchnius coming into the world, trying to come into the world, Yisarusa de Leila, and what we're doing is Aveiros. So what are we doing? We're like kind of pushing away. It's a negative. So how does that work? How does that work with the analogy to food, nutrition? So hepech hamaisim asher loy tovim chas v'shalom heim el ha'olamos ki'inyan hamaycholim rayim. It's the same thing as eating bad food, junk food. Asher yisbar inyanei b'ezras Hashem, which I will explain. He's going to give us a little bit of a medical lesson. But first, he quotes us the Zohar. And the Zohar goes like this. B'yoyma de Rosh Hashanah. By the way, if you've ever taken the time, probably in your machzir, it says the kavanah of the Tkiyah Shofar, and there's a couple of pages of kavanahs of Tkiyah Shofar. So this Zohar, that's how I know it. This Zohar is one of those quotes there that is recommended reading before Tkiyah Shofar. So what if it's Shavuos? B'yoyma de Rosh Hashanah. Nafik Yitzchak B'lechudai. This is a Zoharic interpretation of the story of Yitzchak asking Esav for food, and Yaakov bringing it, and Yaakov eating and Yitzchak eating Yaakov's food, right? And then Yitzchak comes back with his food. What did I say? Asa. Let's try that again. Yitzchak asks Asa for food. Yaakov brings the food. Then Esav and Yitzchak eats it, and then Esav brings his food. So,
you said that Esav and Yitzchak eat it.
delete.
Take 3.
I just said that?
No.
I stayed by my last word. Anyways, we all know the story. Read your
In the book.
read your Bible. So the Zohar says like this: B'yayma de Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah Nafak Yitzchak b'lechud. Yitzchak goes out by himself. He goes out by himself. V'kari la'esav, I'm not going to comment, I'm going to translate. V'kari la'esav latamalei, and he calls Esav on Rosh Hashanah. He calls Esav to give him some food. Tafshilin d'chol alma. Bring me food from the world. Let me see what the world's food tastes like. Kol chad kifum archvi. In other words, let me taste the food of every different nation. He calls Esav dafka. Esav is a man of the world. So he calls Esav to bring him all the different kinds of tafshilin.
Ethnic food. Ethnic food.
Yeah. Tasting. V'shachiv al arsaya dedina, and at that time, Yitzchak is resting on arsaya dedina, on the bed of din. In other words, he's on the bench. V'kari l'Esav v'omar v'tzoyda litzayid v'asuli matami. Meaning Yitzchak, right, represents Midas Hadin. Avram represents Midas HaChesed. Yitzchak, Titein Emes Li'Yaakov Chesed LaAvram. Yitzchak was Pachad Yitzchak. In need of din. And he wants the din. So he calls Esav and he says, let's see what where the world is holding here. Let me see. Vayhi ach yotzoi, and Esav goes out. Esav achiv Yaakov goes out. Yaakov comes in, we all know, and then he eats from Yaakov's food. And it's interesting because Rashi says that when he ate from Yaakov's food, he said, too good. Something's too good here. He wanted to taste the psilos. Esav achiv ba mitzidai. So Yaakov goes out and Esav comes in. And he brought with him all kinds of packages of food, meaning what the world is doing. Chadid l'shniya lemitan tainus. V'yomer Yakum Avi, and he came in and he said, okay, Yakum Avi, Yitar b'dinai, what does it mean, Yakum Avi, get up and do din. Get up and do din. Vayoichal. And eat. Kama uvdin bishen d'chol alma. Do din. So in other words, okay, whole new story here. That Esav is coming to Yitzchak, and Yitzchak is asking to do dinner. It was Rosh Hashanah, and Yitzchak is asking Esav.
Wasn't it Pesach?
Pesach.
Rosh Hashanah and Pesach.
Says Rosh Hashanah. There's different chazals, but this is the Zohar. It's not so much that it happened then. This is what happens every year, Rosh Hashanah. So, in other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judging the world, and he says, let me see all the terrible things that are going on in the world, and Yaakov, being, that's us, come with the good stuff. That's basically what's happening in Rosh Hashanah, to put it very simply. It's our job. Rosh Hashanah, Kadosh Baruch Hu's done us kol olam kulai. Miyichya, miyamus. So we're coming with the good stuff. But we have to do a knetch here to outsmart Esav to make sure that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't taste from the negative dinim. We're coming with something positive. He brings here, on the bottom of mine, he brings from the Shaar. Shaar was the Shaar Makubal. Or Moshe Gitkilia. Gitkilia. So he says, he explains as follows. I taught you already, Kimidas Avraham, he amlamedas chus alabrius, that the tachlis of Avraham, what did Avraham do? He went around and he was mlamed chus chesed. Umidas Yitzchak hamlamedas choiva. It sounds bad, but it's not really a bad. In other words, the idea was to try to distinguish between good and bad. So there's I guess you go to a doctor, you don't want him to tell everything that's good about you, It's the good news and here's the bad news. As much as we don't want to hear it and we don't like to hear it, but it's where the tikkun is. Yitzchak was looking for Esav's food. How could it be, he says this is the Shaar, how could it be that Yitzchak, who was such a tzaddik, and Ein Hashchina Nifredas Mimenu Afilu Sha'ach Hasi Oyev Rasha Gomer Kamay Esav. How could it be that he wanted to take an Eich Efsher Zeh? Elasayt Gadol Misaydas HaTerahu. Just reading, it's a big site. Da Ki Yitzchak Avinu Alav Shalom Hayitzefa Kola Asid Lavai. This is a bit harsh. Yitzchak was a tzaddik that understood the entire world. But Sipa V'ra Ki Bnei Yaakov Yuchaytim Machisim Lifnei Hashem. He understood that Yaakov, the children that he loved, Yaakov and his children will ultimately do chet throughout the ages. And he realized that Klal Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, could be Yoresh Gehenim. Kishara Yitzchak Yisrael Begolus, and when Yitzchak saw the Bnei Yisrael were in Golus, Esav, that's the Golus of Edom, Samach V'amar Golus Mechaper Safai. He was happy with the fact that Golus was mechaper. V'amar kein ani oyev ma'od kol hatzar shel Esav l'lamed al Yisrael chayva kedei ligmar aleim hadin b'Golus b'olam hazeh. It was harsh. Like, let's do this, let's get the Yisurim, let's get Golus in this world, and that's the idea of giving this kind of Esav a koach. That's what he says. Now we need to remember when we read this that Rivka was against this project. Rivka, the mama Rivka, she says, no, these are my children. I don't want them to suffer. So you had here a little domestic controversy between Yitzchak and Rivka, whether Yisurim for the Bnei Yisrael is a good thing. Now everybody's got to agree that it's a good thing, and everybody's going to agree it's a bad thing. The question is, what's the way to go? And Yitzchak came with a sort of a harsh thing. I'm telling you what the best thing is. Let Esav bring the din, and by Esav bringing the din, there'll be din in this world. And Rivka circumvented that situation, interrupted that mission, and came Yaakov with all the Gan Eden to the room. V'zehu vayev Yitzchak es Esav kitzayid v'fiv v'Rivka yeheves es. Yeah, it's a whole new idea of what was going on there. Esav, Yaakov. Do I want to see the bad because then I can get rid of it, or just don't even see the bad? Denial. Kishara golos Edom v'ra hatzayid shel gehenim noisim b'fiv shel Esav samach v'amar golos mechaper safin. Okay, so what do we learn from all this? Brings another zayar.
That last line there, the colors from the face. I wonder, is Esav saying it or Yitzchak?
He wanted to get whatever oynish has to happen. Let it happen.
In other words, Esav was miscovering to what Yitzchak wanted.
Right. Yeah, that was Esav's job. That's Esav's job. that's the good part about it. It's like, it reminds me like of the Gemara that says that Chavivin Yisurim, the Gemara says Chavivin Yisurim, Yisurim is a good thing, it's good to be in pain, it's Machaper Ovain, and Rabbi Yochanan said, Lo hein v'lo scharan, keep it. I don't want the Yisurim, I don't want the schar of the Yisurim. Objectively, I guess we can learn that Yisurim is a good thing, but who wants Yisurim? Who wants Yisurim? It's
Golas is doing that as a tikkur. No?
yeah.
There is the Yitzchak thing that we're going through.
But there's still, the Gemara says, Lo hein v'lo scharan. Or the Gemara even says that we're going to go to Ikvus of the Mashiach, which is now, and the Tanoim said, I don't want to be there. Way too complicated to see the Ikvus of the Mashiach, the birur of Toiv, Ra, and so.
What was the effect of eating from Yaakov?
Oh, so what was the effect from eating from Yaakov? Is he saw good. So he prolonged the Golus. Eating from Yaakov prolonged the Golus, pushed off the Golus. Meaning, I see good. So interesting that he was blind through all this, huh? In other words, if you're going to show me good, so okay, so you'll have more schar. It's a complicated. I'm thinking to myself. I went to the dentist before Pesach. He says, "Whoa, you need."
He says, "Whoa."
Whoa.
It's a good sign right there.
Right. It's like like the joke. A doctor will have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is you have 24 hours to live. The good news is you have 24 hours to live. What's the bad news is I couldn't get a hold of you yesterday. So no, he says we need some serious work to be done here. So I said, is it urgent? So he said, it can wait till after Pesach. Okay, now it's after Shavuos, right? Was he doing me a chesed by saying it could wait till after Pesach, or was he doing me a disfavor by saying it can wait till after Pesach, which means it can wait, like Palkin and Dibure. It can wait. So you look at Yitzchak, who's going with Din, two kinds of doctors. Which one do you like? There's the Din doctor, which says, look, we need to take care of this, and we're going to do it right now. I was like, okay, wait, So what are we gaining by waiting? Like, what are we gaining? It can only get worse, right? What are you gaining by waiting? So Yitzchak, I'm just putting Yitzchak in a light. Difference between Yitzchak and Rivka is apparently Yitzchak was saying, no, let's take care of this. Let's eat from the side of Esav, and there'll be a din on Rosh Hashanah, and whatever's meant to happen will happen.
Any relevance that Rivka's tzedekah was Russia as opposed to side of
Okay, it's interesting. You could say Torah here. But who was right and who was wrong? I'm just saying, like in your mind, who was the right, who was the wrong? Are you a din kind of a guy? No, I'm just telling you to think. But who's right, who's wrong? It's a hard.
Sarah Navram also, with Yishmael.
Yeah.
She also had.
Sarah, in that case, was din. Usually, the din goes with the women, and the men go with the tirachim of albanim. Kain tirachim Hashem aleinu. Like usually, it's the rachamim of the of. It doesn't say tirachim eim albanim. Kain tirachim aleinu. But in this case, Rivka was like just eat from side of Yaakov. Just fascinating, just a whole different thing that was going on there, which actually, as great as complicated as it is, it makes more sense than the actual story. I think it's a story that makes sense. So let's skip a few lines here and just see if we can. It brings a couple of Zayars. They all say the same thing. Ukeshem Shemai Chalaguf, says Nefesh Hachaim. And just like we have, now let's go back to our food analogy. Keshem Shemai Chalaguf, Kasher Nenu Toiv Nenu Meinoi Miskabel Alaguf, Einozon V'Soidus Aguf. Person eats unhealthy food, bad food, poison. So if you eat something which is not good, Einoi Miskabel Al Haguf, it's not received correctly from the guf. It doesn't give sustenance to the body. It actually turns into poison in the body. In other words, you eat something, what happens in the digestive system, my amateur description here. What happens in the digestive system is you eat something, and as it goes through the digestive system and turns into blood, then it goes and it circulates throughout your whole body, and everything miraculously in the body takes what it needs. So your heart needs this, and your kidney needs that, and your stomach needs this, and your liver needs that, and your whole body is sustained by the tov, which is in the ochel, and whatever is not needed for that purpose becomes waste and leaves the body. So that's and even the waste, by the way, important to note for the rest of the paragraph here, even the waste has a tachlis. Like, you don't want to eat something necessarily without any bacteria, without it won't break down correctly. So the food breaks down. It's a physical thing. You can watch a video of it on YouTube. A physical thing, the food breaks down, goes through the digestive system, turns into blood, and carries around. What happens when you eat something which is not good? So one of two things: either nothing, meaning it's empty and it doesn't absorb into your organs. That's the better situation. Or the worst case situation is it does. And if it does, so then you're actually poisoning your body. So this is our little lesson in nutrition as to what happens when you eat good food. To the taste buds, interestingly, the bad food usually tastes better than the good food, but to the system, it's not as good. So kishem shemaychel haguf. Don't forget, this is all a mashal for Torah mitzvahs on the one hand, and Aveiros on the other hand. So kishem shemaychel haguf kasher einenu toiv. If you eat something which is not good, it's spoiled. It's eino miskabel el haguf. Doesn't do anything for the guf. Eino zon v'soydes haguf. It's not sustaining the body. Ela nehepach v'soychel l'psoilus v'zuma v'tsoya. V'gam hu matish u'machlish is kol haguf. It could even weaken the body. Right? You're going to be very lucky if it doesn't have a deleterious effect on the body. Could be, but it's not doing any good. Could be, but what's worse is it shouldn't do harm. It's very powerful, you know, like, do you know how much cyanide it takes to kill a person?
Not much.
Less. And almost instantaneously. So you think about what's happening. It's a drop, a couple of milligrams. Like let's say like a baby aspirin. That's what you need. Like how does it work, Moshe? How can it get through the body and kill you so quickly?
It just poisons every cell that touches it.
Every cell. It's just so poison.
Yeah, it stops, kills every cell that touches it.
So as it goes through the body,
I think so, yeah.
it seems, yeah. It's not like drinking Coke. I mean,
Not much.
slow death. Yeah.
The paragraphs that we skipped are talking about the kaved filtering out, and he's saying basically that the psola should go to Esav. That's the Sira Mishtalech.
Yeah, I know, and I skipped the Sira Mishtalech because it was confusing me. We'll get back to it. Kal yedei zeh ein hanefesh mispashe b'toiche karoi. L'famim yechlam is that you can get sick from eating unhealthy food. Keina inyan sha'maisim asher loy toivim. I don't know if the Rambam speaks about nutrition and what's good for you and what's not good for you. I don't know if they were as advanced in the understanding of different cells and nutrition of the cells as we could understand this like so deeply today, of how everything affects. It's just, I mean, Elena, like all the cancer comes from things nobody knows what it comes from. But cancer comes from things that we don't even know we haven't necessarily even identified. Things in the air, things in the water. L'famim yechlam is a kena inyan. So the same thing is shamaisim asher loy toivim or itzuyim chas v'shalom. If somebody does something wrong, let's say you talk lashon hara, heimanepachim b'toichay lamois l'psoilas v'lichluch kiviyachol. So what happens is in the shamayim. Don't forget, we're energizing Tnuais Elohim. We are energizing the Shemayim and the Hischabrus. The key word here is the Hischabrus. He uses this over and over again. How the Shemayim is connecting to the Aretz. If you're doing it in a healthy way, so you have a healthy Chibur. If you're doing it in an Aveira way, So what you're doing is you're basically not only you're pushing the Shekhinah away from the Aretz, and not only are you creating a lack of Kedusha in the Aretz, but you're actually creating a chasarn in the Pamal Yishamala. You're evaporating pollution into the Shemayim, and that's got to go somewhere. And that is what Tumah is.
So isn't there a chibur being created by an Avera also?
Yeah.
So it's bringing the Shekhinah down, but it's just abusing it. But there seems to be.
So let's understand.
Bringing it down.
Yeah, let's understand that Lafi. You're saying a little bit Hasidish.
That's nice.
Thank you.
Let's try to understand it, just a drop. I don't know, just to get a hasagan. I don't know. You can understand, but like I said before, you need some bacteria when you eat. If you eat just pure food, it's not going to digest either. Nothing breaks down the food. You need some bacteria, but it doesn't mean we should talk a little lashon hara here and there just to make it work. I don't think that's what it means.
No, bacteria is not a bad thing. Bacteria is a catalyst to help digest the food. It could be bad. Lashon hara is always bad. Bacteria is not always bad. Bacteria is sometimes bad.
Bacteria is a bad thing. You just need it, some of it. There's what they call good bacteria, but it's bacteria. The definition of the word bacteria is that it's a negative force. But sometimes you need a negative force to make the whole body work. So let's say you take antibiotics, so it's so purifying that your body will not work correctly because your body needs that balance. But the simple shot is that every minute we're getting koach from Hashem to do whatever we're doing. This is the simple shot. And how do I get koach to do an Aveiros? We learned about this in the Timer Dvarim and in the Shaar and Nefesh Hachaim. When I do an Aveiros, where am I getting the koach from? Is it possible to say that Hashem is giving us koach to do an Aveiros? But I do have koach. I'm eating the cheeseburger, so I am getting koach to do an Aveiros. Where am I getting that koach? And interestingly, most people do Aveiros much more enthusiastically than they do mitzvahs. Somehow or another, you have like an extra koach. So we know this. We know it's very simply that Arizal says that every time you do a mitzvah, you're getting your koach from Kedusha, and if you're doing an Aveira, you're getting your koach from the Sitra Achra. This is the way Hashem created the world. Hashem created the world with a positive force and a negative force, plus minus. There's a positive and a negative force coming into the world, and it's up to us. Our Bechira Chavshus is where we're going to get our energy from. If we get our energy from a negative source, in other words, we're getting we're getting the energy from the, but if it's impossible that Hashem is giving us energy from a good place to do an Aveira. So the energy that's going and permeating and flowing through our body to be able to do the Aveira is called Sitra Achra. So I'm just like Kabbalah 101, like a person gets his energy from one of two places, or from two places. But you get your energy from somewhere, otherwise you're dead. So it comes out like, let's say you're talking Divrei Torah, so we're being energized by HaKadosh Baruch Hu from a Sitra de Kedusha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing his koach into this world. That's what he wants. The chibur in this world is coming from a good place. The moment that if the middle of Divrei Torah, mamash in the middle of sentence, I throw in a word of Lashon Hara or Nevola or something like that, so boom, the plug comes out of here and goes into there, and I'm getting my energy from the Sitra Achra. So what? And the Sitra Achra is actually a stronger burst of energy for some reason. Yetzer Hara is stronger than the Yetzer HaTov. The Vilna Gaon says that if you don't know if something is your Yetzer Hara wanting to do it or your Yetzer HaTov wanting to do it, you have to make a decision. So he says, Klal zeh noked b'yadcha. If you're really pushing to do it and you really want to do it, it's probably Yetzer Hara. It's probably like coming from a bad thing, like, I can't sleep, I'm so excited about doing this. So that's like one level, but what I want to try to explain here in the next 30 seconds, then we'll go further into a very deep thing, is that's talking about the energy coming down. So I'm making a decision as to what I'm doing, but as I've explained many times, it doesn't just come from up to down, it's a cycle. So it's also whatever I'm doing, as we're learning over here, is mezin the olam ma'aseh yonim. So the example, which I'll repeat again, is like a rain cycle. So you have the clouds. The clouds are raining down, beautiful, making the fruit grow. The water evaporates, goes up to the clouds, and everything is beautiful until we pollute the water down here. And once we pollute the water here, so what happens? Now we're evaporating pollution into the clouds, and what's coming down now, polluted or acid rain. So what's happening here is that it's very much dependent on what we're doing. So there's two directions that we need to consider here. One is the direction of up to down. So when we do an Aveiro, what happens? I'm sitting and I'm enjoying running a scheme which is stealing from hundreds of people. And it's going very well. So it's going very well. I'm having siyata d'shmaya. How you doing? Baruch Hashem. Siyata d'shmaya. Siyata d'shmaya. So it is siyata d'shmaya. It is siyata d'shmaya. The Gemara says, Ganav apuma d'machtarta b'irachami. That for a ganav who's about to break into a house, so many people like that, he should turn to Hashem and ask for siyata d'shmaya. to be, he's not cut off, because this is Bechira Chavshis, and we're going to explain that this is from the time that Adam Arishan did the Chet to the Eitz Hadas. He's getting his energy, but Hashem Kivyachol is taking the plug out and putting it over here. So what's happening is two things. One is that the up to down is the person who's absorbing this negative energy. What's possibly worse than that is now a person is now evaporating pollution and creating a chasarn for the whole world. So every time somebody does an Aveira, you're being nourished by the Sitra Achra, but you're also nourishing the Sitra Achra, and you're creating a situation of Ra, like the Mabul. It's a good example because it was actually water. But the Mabul that evaporated Ra into the Shemaim, and down came Ra until the whole world was destroyed. And it was only HaKadosh Baruch Hu who promised at the end, he says, okay, I'm going to break the cycle. Only Hashem can break the cycle. Maybe I should just recreate the world. No, I'm not going to create the world, recreate the world. I'm going to break the cycle from now on. That's what he says. But again, when we talk about what we're doing, that's the subject at hand, the Nefesh Hachaim, Perek Vav, Perek Zayin. Talk about what we're doing. It's like Meichel Umishta. It's like giving nutrition to who? To the higher worlds. Just like when we eat and drink, it's just a mashal. Just like when we eat and drink, you can eat all kinds of bad stuff and get a lot of energy apparently, but it's still killing your organs and it's still killing you. Yeah. So by giving off, by doing an Aveira, so we're getting our energy from a negative place and we're creating more negativity in the Shemayim, and that's exactly his lashon. And then comes, rains down on us, tuma, klipa, which can take the form of tuma kipshuta, it can take the form of anti-Semitism, enemies in Amalek can have koach. Where does this koach come from? It comes in a way. I'm not saying we're guilty, but it comes in a way from the tuma which is being evaporated into the world. It's miskaber, the koichas hatuma. So we need to understand that let's just leave it with this idea. We're part of a very, very sophisticated marechet here with everything that we do. We can't take anything that we do simply. And the thing about acid rain is it doesn't necessarily fall on my pond. In other words, I can evaporate pollution in Wyoming, and acid rain can come down in India. The Shemayim moves pretty quickly there. So it could come down wherever. Who knows? Who knows what the Lashon Hara here is doing? This is the pshat in Sinas Chinam was Macher the Beis HaMikdash. Went like this. The whole energy that was energizing the Beis HaMikdash was Kedusha. And Kedusha will last forever. But once I start putting Sinas Chinam into the pot, that's evaporating. So now it's coming down a ruach of Tumah, and the Romans can walk right in, or the Babylonians or whoever. Eretz Yisrael requires Kedusha. and it can be zocha to shmita. You know, it can have a tremendous amount of kedusha, and down will come kedusha, which is invincible. But the minute that we're chas v'shalom evaporating tumah into the olam yonim, as he says, so now we're giving koach to an enemy source of tumah and klipa, which could come and challenge Eretz Yisrael. So this is the basic message. But the nakuda here is what we're learning here, Perek Vav, Perek Zayin, Perek Ches, is that really it all depends on our ma'asim, because we are part of this cycle. We are the mazayin. We are the mazayin. We are the nutrition for the olam yonim. What you are, what you eat, and the world is what we do. That's the way that works.
It's better that the wick gets burnt out.
Better something nice.
Than that it stays burnt and burning from something below it, from the candle which is doing Aveiros.
Why?
Based on what you're saying now, is that the pollution of the candle is far more destructive.
Oh, better if it burns out here.
Yeah, it's better to burn before it gets into...
Which is
the
what
tumor.
Yitzchak was saying. That's what Yitzchak was saying. Bring me Esav, let's do what we need to do, and let it all burn out, let it not evaporate into the Shemayim. That's what the Seir HaMishtaleach is that he's talking about. And that's what Korbanos are. The whole idea of bring me Esav, and let me take care of it now, burn the wick, as you say, right here, and let the Rishoyim have their tainug in this world, and let the din have whatever, better than it evaporating into a higher world and then coming down that way. That's exactly right.